everyone, and welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Sling TV. I am Mike Barner. He is Kirien Sprecher, and we come to you every Wednesday to give you the information that you need to win your fantasy basketball leagues. Kirien, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good, Mike. Other than losing my glasses this morning, not being able to charge my laptop, but other than that, I'm doing just peachy.
Man, what a great way to spend the middle of the week, right? You're almost halfway there. Once we get through this, you'll look for the spectacles, and hopefully you don't trip over anything in the office and have to file a workers' comp claim. And with that, let's talk about some news and notes going on around the league. And then our second topic of the show today, we always talk about guys to add. We've talked about the hot waiver wire options you want for the rest of the season. We've talked about the category specialists. Well, guess what? Sometimes you need to drop somebody to make the roster space to add them. So Kyrie and I are each going to give you some guys that it's time to drop, get rid of, time to move on from. But Kyrie, first, our news and notes topics here. The Spurs played the Grizzlies last night, but missing guys from both teams. So the Spurs, Victor Wembanyama was out, Stephon Castle was out. The Grizzlies, no Ja Morant. Now, Wembanyama is going to miss a couple of weeks. The Spurs announced yesterday that Stephon Castle is going to miss 1 to 2 weeks. We're looking at a couple of weeks for Ja Morant. Initial takeaways. De'Aaron Fox had 26 points in the game. That was pretty good, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Huge for, Fox to have this runway now that he's had some issues fitting into the team in San Antonio, but now kind of as the lead dog, maybe he gets a rhythm. Definitely had a rhythm last night. You mentioned Stephon Castle too. Dylan Harper also remains out for the Spurs, though he just got out of his walking boot and could be back, before December here. But yeah, I think my initial reaction was just this awesome primetime game between Wemby and Ja Morant, two super exciting guys, players. Just didn't come to fruition, but we saw a pretty exciting game nonetheless. Cam Spencer was hitting some shots. Vince Williams almost had a triple-double. I think on the Spurs side, you have guys like Keldon Johnson, who had a really good game last night, Jeremy Sohan, Devin Vassell, who have had way bigger roles than they have this year in previous seasons. And they've kind of had to take a back seat with Wemby, turning into an MVP candidate before this injury, who are just going to seamlessly, step up. They've played these roles before, albeit not on a very, good team. But they're capable of handling these roles and handling this extra usage. And they took care of business last night. I think, it's going to be a struggle. But guys like, Vassell and Keldon Johnson are going to step up. Luke Cornett is also, a very popular streamer now that Wemby's out, and he didn't have, a great game, but I expect a lot better.
Score.
Yeah,
he didn't score.
I expect a lot better production coming from Cornett as he gets his feet under him and the team, transitions into this week or two without Wemby.
Yeah, Zach Edey's a tough matchup there for Luke Cornett, so that's probably why he gave a muted stat line. My favorite ads here, I think Harrison Barnes is a good ad if you need points and three-pointers. He's not going to give you a whole lot across the board, but points and three-pointers, I really like that. He had 23 points last night. He's only rostered in 17% of Yahoo leagues. Now, Cedric Coward, he's already everywhere, but he had 19 points last night. You mentioned Vince Williams Jr. He fell a rebound and an assist shy of a triple-double. He also played 30 minutes. He started and played 30 minutes, so you like to see that. I think the thing you got to remember with Williams is he shoots for a tailable percentage. So if you're in a points league, he's worth way more than if you're in a standard roto league. I think he'd be my top ad, followed closely by Harrison Barnes, and Keldon Johnson would be my top three. Are those three guys all on your official list?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's totally fair to say. And Harrison Barnes, you said the points. His steals have been pretty solid too. One
Very
steal
true.
in at least 5 games, multiple steals in 3 of the last 7. So yeah, Harrison Barnes probably should be rostered in way more of leagues. And I've been on that boat where he's not a great fantasy option, but you got to ride him when he's hot right now, and he's certainly hot. So he's worth a pickup.
He's one of those guys that no one adds because, do I really want Harrison Barnes on my teams? Well, guess what? They're missing 3. You edited Dylan Harper there. They're missing 3 of their top guys. So someone has to score, and Harrison Barnes can still do that. So those are the guys we like to add. Now, another injury here. Giannis is going to be out 1 to 2 weeks for the Bucks with a groin injury. He left early in Monday's game against the Cavaliers. In that game, Miles Turner had 15 points, 7 rebounds, played 37 minutes. Bobby Portis had 11 points and 6 rebounds. Ryan Rollins, 24 points. Kirien, he took 22 shots in the game. So what's the fallout here of this Giannis injury?
Yeah, it's gonna be a collection of people that are gonna have to step up. I think Kyle Kuzma had moved into the starting lineup. Gary Trent. When we get into like listing off all of these types of names, like with the Spurs, I feel like there are guys like Keldon Johnson that are clear guys that are gonna step up. With the Bucks, it could be Cole Anthony one night, it could be Bobby Portis one night, it could be Kyle Kuzma one night. So I don't know if there's really like any priority ads that I'm going out, but I do think if you need streamers, there's guys to target here, and it's just going to be like a matchup based thing. I think Bobby Portis is probably obviously like anytime Giannis has missed time in the last 5-6 years, it's been Bobby Portis that has kind of been the guy that steps up. So I think he's probably the top option I'm looking at here. And Kuzma. I want to trust Kuzma. I want to like Kuzma. I always like Kuzma, like when in his Lakers days. But I can't trust him. He had that huge explosion and then moved in the starting lineup and didn't score. So I think Bobby Portis is probably like the safest, best option here. But there's definitely like some higher variance players that you can mix and match streaming wise and maybe get some production out of them.
I'd much rather have all three guys we talked about to add in that Spurs Grizzlies game than either of Kuzma and Portis. Like you said, Portis would be the one of the two to take, but I don't trust either of them. The big winners are the guys that are already on teams, Rollins and Turner. Those two guys are going to get more shots, more minutes, more production. But like you said, I don't think we're rushing out to add Kyle Kuzma or Bobby Portis. Kirien, we've talked about some bad news. Let's give some good news. LeBron James began his 23rd season, which is crazy to think about. 23rd season. Last night, he played against the Jazz. He played 30 minutes. He had 11 points, 12 assists, a couple of three-pointers. He only attempted 7 shots. Still got big games from Luka, a big scoring night from Austin Reeves, but it's nice to see LeBron James back on the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. You see the assist. That's just the kind of guy that LeBron is going to have to be on this team, and probably what he would rather be doing. LeBron has never been a guy that, has wanted to be the top scorer. He would much rather be the guy that gets everybody involved. And that's the perfect team he has now. DeAndre Ayton wants to finish those, those little mid-range floaters. Reeves wants to shoot. Luka wants to shoot. So LeBron's just going to, for lack of a better term, just be the old guy at the gym, getting all the young guys involved. And that fits his game really well. Obviously, the NBA is better when LeBron is playing. I will just say, his first game back, and I got like 7 notifications from Sleeper and Underdog and all of those other things, like, oh, LeBron made a 3. It's like, oh, okay. Keontae George made like 5 threes in the first quarter, but I didn't see one tweet about that. So that's just my old man take there.
I think my only concern with the Lakers, Luka's going to get his, but Austin Reeves had 1 assist last night.
Yeah.
That makes me a little nervous. Now, he still scored a lot. He had 26 points in the game, so that's great. But, LeBron and Luka are 2 excellent passers, and Reeves might now just shift into more of a scoring role instead of scoring and facilitator. You think this is maybe a sell high for Austin Reeves, or do you think someone else is going to get hurt and you just live through this for a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think selling high on Reeves, if you get like an awesome return, is totally fine. But I think he's still going to be a top 50 player when the dust settles. I think the assists are a little bit concerning there, but I think there'll be games when those spike back up. But yeah, his production probably was at his highest when LeBron was out. That probably isn't a wild take.
Heading from the West Coast to the East Coast, Jalen Brunson has been upgraded to questionable for Wednesday's game against the Mavericks. He's missed the last 2 games. Certainly encouraging to see him upgraded as questionable. Today marks 1 week since he suffered that ankle injury. So if he comes back, Jordan Clarkson, if you've been streaming him, that's probably a no-go, right, Kirien?
Yep, absolutely. Miles McBride probably, drops down the list a little bit more too. Jalen Brunson has dealt with these ankle injuries in the past and always seems to kind of bounce back fairly quickly. Kind of got that Wolverine blood in him. So yeah, I Landry Shamet had a really good game too, and I saw people saying he was a priority ad, but I don't know about that one. Like, he just had his career high night and is kind of a streaky shooter. But yeah, it looks like the Knicks will be back to full strength before too long.
Can I just say one thing? Now, remember when Tibbs, he plays these guys, he runs them into the ground. They play too many minutes. He doesn't use his bench. The Knicks get a good bench. They get rid of Tibbs, and Brunson and Adebayo get hurt. Maybe it's not always Tibbs' fault. Sorry, that was kind of
Yes.
like a Bulls minute there. Right, Kirien?
Absolutely. Tibbs has been the scapegoat on so many teams. So
Come on.
defend our guy. Defend our guy.
Have you seen the Bulls since Tibbs left? It's a dumpster fire.
Yes.
We're all excited about making the play-in tournament with Billy Donovan. Tibbs was awesome, and he was great with the Knicks. Raw deal. All right, I'll get off my soapbox now. Let's go over to Miami, another one of those Knicks rivalry teams from the 90s. Bam Adebayo has been upgraded to questionable Wednesday against the Warriors with his toe injury. He's missed 6 straight games. During those 6 games, Khalil Ware averaged 12.7 points, 12.5 rebounds, and 2.3 blocks. Now, we also got Tyler Hero. He's been participating in practices, but working his way back from an ankle injury. So we could see the Heat here at full strength pretty soon, Kirien.
Yep, absolutely. The Hero thing has been kind of funny. The team seems to be like, oh, he's going to come back sooner than later. And then he's like, yeah, no, it's going to be a couple more weeks than their expected timeline. That happened before the season started. It also just happened earlier this week where they were like, he's doing basketball activities again. And he's like, yeah, I am. But it's going to be, a week or two before my conditioning is up to speed. I had a question on Twitter asking about Davion Mitchell's usage. And seems like a lot of people are really worried about that. Davion Mitchell is one of the better defenders on this team. Davion Mitchell has been the point guard for this team that is currently leading the league, the entire NBA in points per game. Actually, that was before last night's game, so I should probably recheck that. But before last night's game, the Heat had the most points per game in the entire NBA with Davion Mitchell as the point guard. When Tyler Hero comes back, I obviously think that it will take the ball out of Davion Mitchell's hands. Sometimes those assists will probably, from 7.5 maybe to 5, which definitely hurts his value. But I think guys like Drew Smith are going to lose minutes. Jaime Jaquez are going to lose minutes. Nikola Jovic, Pelle Larson. Those are the guys that I think are going to cede minutes before Davion Mitchell cedes minutes. Yeah, he's going to lose the ball a little bit, but I still think Davion Mitchell is going to be fantasy worthy, fantasy relevant even when Hero comes back. The Khalil Ware thing that's a little more pump your brakes in that situation.
Yeah.
Ware is one of those streaky players where he needs a lot of usage and a lot of leeway to make mistakes to get those big stat lines. And if he doesn't have it on any given night when Adebayo comes back, he might, have super muted production. So Ware is pretty risky, but a guy like Davion Mitchell, I think Mitchell and Jaquez can still be fantasy relevant, but I would rather have, Mitchell over Jaquez when Hero comes back, just because I think Mitchell is the better defender of those three. That's just as simple as it gets.
I think with Ware, you can't start him once Adebayo comes back, but I wouldn't cut him.
Yeah.
I just put him on your bench because big guys and toe injuries can be lingering. It's something that can come back. So I wouldn't be getting rid of Ware. You were talking about Mitchell. I'm most worried about having an article coming out about some trade stuff. And I'm worried about Andrew Wiggins. And if you have him on your team, he'd be the guy I'd be looking to trade. His scoring has been relatively close to what it was last season. Despite his efficiency going up, his usage rate is already down compared to last season. And when you have Tyler Hero, Norm Powell, and Bam Adebayo, that makes Andrew Wiggins scoring option number 4. And he doesn't do a whole lot else. So he'd be the guy I would be the most worried about as the Heat start to get healthy. So one other thing we got to talk about here before we move on to our players to drop. Keegan Murray. Remember him? He's expected to make his season debut Thursday against the Grizzlies. He averaged 12.4 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 2 3-pointers over 34 minutes a game last season. I saw a lot of people going on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, talking about Keegan Murray's comeback. Should we run to the waiver wire and get him? What do you say, Kirien?
Yeah, I don't think you need to run.
Yes. Thank you. Common sense, please. Here we go, Kirien.
I think you can walk and maybe take, not use any fab to pick him up, but someone's going to go after him heavy. I don't trust anything in Sacramento this year. Like, theoretically, if I was in charge of the Sacramento Kings, Keegan Murray would probably be my cornerstone player for the rest of the season, and I would trade away DeMar and DeMontis. But you're not going to get anything for those guys. They brought in Russell Westbrook. It's not like they're, letting the youth play here. I don't trust anything in Sacramento. I think Keegan Murray is a fine player. but not a very great fantasy player. And then when he has to share the court with guys like Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Domantas Sabonis, I know Sabonis is hurt right now. Throw in Malik Monk and Dennis Schroeder, who also love to have the ball in their hands. I don't see a situation where you use any resources to go pick up Keegan Murray and it moves the needle for your team. I think he's a fine plug and play type of guy, but this news isn't like, oh, he's going to save my team, or I need to roster him. Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, if you're desperate, sure, add him. But like you said, I would not put any significant fab on this. There's too many mouths to feed there, and they show no inclining of wanting to give extended usage or minutes to their young players. So yeah, let's not unload the fab war chest over on Keegan Murray. So now we're going to talk about some players to drop. But before we do that, our words from our friends at Dabble. Dabble isn't just another DFS app. It's the ultimate social platform where you can connect with other fantasy sports lovers. Dabble lets you win big. You can win up to 5,000 times your money this basketball season. Starting with Dabble is easy. New users get $25 free when signing up. No deposit necessary. Check out the link in the episode description below to download Dabble now. All right, Ken, we're talking about we want to add Harrison Barnes and Vince Williams Jr. and all these guys, but we got to cut some dead weight from the roster. Give me someone that's time to get off your team.
All right, so this one kind of hits home a little bit. I do have him in one of my bigger money leagues. Jonathan Kuminga. This is kind of a similar situation to Keegan Murray. I love Jonathan Kuminga as a player. People want to say, oh, he doesn't have, the court awareness or, the basketball IQ. He's just all raw talent. He hasn't figured it out yet, blah, 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 blah. My biggest thing with the Warriors is that it's hard for any young players to prosper around the Warriors because Steph Curry and Draymond Green play loosey-goosey and turn the ball over left and right. Obviously, they're amazing players, championship winners, but they are prone to mistakes. They play a fast-paced game. Draymond Green throws the ball away countless times on any given possession. Steph Curry takes bad shots for any other person except for Steph Curry. They play a unique brand of basketball, and they play it at a super high level, and it works for them. But that also makes it nearly impossible for any young player to be integrated into that system and have any leeway to make any mistakes. Because as soon as they start making mistakes, it's, exponential mistakes because there are already the built-in mistakes from the veterans on this team. I think Kuminga, the reason why I'm dropping Kuminga is because I just don't think the Warriors are going to trust him with an expanded role for the entire season. Before the season, Kerr said Kuminga is going to be a starter. Well, that lasted like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then all of a sudden he got this knee tendonitis. His production was good to start the season, got this knee tendonitis, started dropping his energy on the court dropped. Then Draymond Green said, nobody wants to win on this team. I feel like maybe I'm reading between the lines too much, but that felt like a direct shot at Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Podziemski. The next few games, neither of those guys started. Obviously, Kuminga has this injury, but he did come off the bench in that first game and then got ruled out with the knee injury. So even when Kuminga comes back, he could play tonight. It's second half of back-to-back. The Warriors haven't released their injury report. Kuminga could play tonight. He could be out the rest of this week. Even when he comes back, I am very, very, very concerned about what his role will look like with this team. I think it'll be sporadic. I think Kuminga at the beginning of the season was way closer to Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry and Draymond Green in terms of fantasy potential. And right now, I think Kuminga is closer to, Moses Moody in terms of fantasy potential, where it's you'll have that one big game and everybody will race to pick him up on the waiver wire. And then you pick him up on the waiver wire and he goes, 2 for 9. And then the next game, he only plays 14 minutes because he's outside of Steve Kerr's rotation. I think Steve Kerr is a good coach. I think the Warriors are a great team. But I just think that they've completely mishandled the Kuminga situation. And I've tried to buy it as many times as I can. But right now it's I'm fully pumping the brakes. This is full red light territory for me with Kuminga.
Completely agree. It's just Steve Kerr just doesn't want to play him. And until he gets with a coach or an organization that wants to play him more, it's going to be too much of a roller coaster ride to roster him. I want to get rid of Christian Braun, he's rostered in 74% of Yahoo leagues. He's out at least 6 weeks with an ankle injury. Before he got hurt, he was averaging 11.4 points, 4.4 rebounds, 3 assists, and half a three-pointer. So he wasn't really great even when he was healthy. He's playing 4 fewer minutes per game this season with the Nuggets having improved depth. He was barely worth rostering when he was healthy. They have better depth this year. There's better options out there. I'd much rather have any of the guys we've talked about. You can't have dead weight on your roster right now, and Christian Braun is not someone that I'm clogging up an IR spot with. Get rid of him.
Totally agree with that. I think I like Braun as a player. He was just struggling around the rim. He's gonna get opportunities when he comes back. Mr. Firenuts was in the chat on Monday when in the podcast with Alex, and he was absolutely roasting me for saying Peyton Watson wasn't a must start this week. Peyton Watson is all defense. Maybe he'll have a couple of games where he gets some easy dunks from Jokic, maybe hits a 3 or something. But Peyton Watson is not a must add or a must start player. I'm sure he's must add. Sure. Yeah. He's going to start and play a lot of minutes. He should probably be rostered in a lot of leagues. But must start unless you are desperate for defensive production. I think you're going to be a little disappointed on what you get from Peyton Watson. I also have another Denver Nugget on this list. Cameron Johnson. Obviously, he had the season high output when in the first game that Braun missed. Cameron Johnson missed a game, came back, had 19 points, and everybody wants to go add him again. He went from like 23% rostered to 30% rostered, but you do not need to pick him up. And if you still have him on your roster, it's time to move on. Even when he has a season high performance, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, no defensive production, there's better options on the waiver wire, and there's going to be better options moving forward than Cameron Johnson.
Yeah, that's a great call there. There's just the top 3 are Jokic, Murray, and Gordon. And as long as all 3 of those guys are healthy, he's just not going to get a lot out of Cam Johnson. So I love that call there. Before I give my next guy to drop, here's a word from our friends at Sling TV. Tired of paying for live TV you don't watch? With Sling, you can get all the live sports, news, and entertainment you want only when you want it. Get your hands on a Sling day, week, or weekend pass starting at just $4.99. Get over 30 of your favorite channels for the best price and stop overpaying for full-time live TV plans. Sling has a pass for any occasion. Big game tonight? Grab a day pass for just $4.99. Want a full week of live TV for one low price? Get a 7-day week pass. And for all those weekend watchers out there, you can enjoy live sports, news, and entertainment from Friday morning to Sunday night with a weekend pass. Only Sling lets you watch when you want, so you only pay for what you watch. Get live TV for the day, week, or weekend, your choice, all for a great price. Watch live TV on your terms starting at just $4.99. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com/deals today and tell them that RotoWire sent you. All right, Kirien, I'm going to drop a guy that was one of the top stash candidates heading into the season, and that's Kyrie Irving, who's still currently rostered in 34% of Yahoo leagues. Stash candidates, we can't have those anymore. There are too many injuries. We've been talking about Giannis and Wemby and Stephon Castle and Jalen Brunson maybe come back. Well, we haven't even mentioned Trae Young is out. Paolo Banchero is out. Darius Garland is out. There are so many hurt guys right now. You need to have someone playing. You can't have someone clogging up an IR spot who best case scenario is going to be back in 2 months. You just can't. Kyrie Irving's a big name. When he's healthy, he can give you good production. When he comes back, he could even be out of minutes limits for a while. We might not see a full Kyrie until like after the All-Star break. Best case scenario. You can't have a dead roster spot. You got to free up that IR spot and get rid of Kyrie Irving.
I totally agree with this. I have been a huge component of, picking up, drafting an injured player with one of your last, draft or one of your last picks, and then stashing him on IR to open up a roster spot. But that strategy kind of handicaps you because then you have no IR spot to move when your actual players get hurt. I one of my bigger money leagues, I have like 6 players that are out this week. And I have Jaden Ivey, so I couldn't even move. I couldn't even open up an extra roster spot because I took Jaden Ivey with one of my last picks as a stash option. I'm still waiting for him to come back. Stashing is great in theory, but when push comes to shove, you need guys that are playing. My next guy, speaking of guys that aren't playing, Kelly Oubre, sprain for Kelly Oubre. Paul George is back. I can't trust Kelly Oubre was a fringe rosterable player right now. He's the highest percentage rostered player on my list of 3 players worth cutting. But with Paul George back, it's going to be, and Oubre being injured, I don't know when Oubre is going to play again. So I think it's time to move on from Oubre and just get another player that's giving you production right now.
My final person to cut, going back to that veteran-laden Sacramento Kings that we talked about, Malik Monk. It's time to let him go. He's still started in 25% of Yahoo leagues. His playing time has dropped from 32 minutes last year to 24 minutes a game this year. He's only scoring 13.1 points per game. Listen to this. His assists are down to 2.1 a game. He's averaging 1.5 rebounds. He comes in. He tries to shoot as much as he can in 20 to 24 minutes. He does nothing else. There's just too many mouths feeding this team unless he gets traded or the Kings decide to trade Zach LaVine or Russell Westbrook or Dennis Schroeder. They just have too many guards. It was fun. Malik Monk last season was a very valuable player. He's not anymore. He shouldn't be rostered unless you're in like a 30-team league. It's time to let him go.
Yeah, Malik Monk is a great player and should be handling way more usage than he is in Sacramento. I'm not really sure what's going on there. All right, so a little behind the scenes here for everybody that's tuned into the show. My laptop is currently dying, so I'm going to leave this chat and join on my other laptop here shortly while Mike is doing one of these ad reads, and hopefully there's no technical difficulties. Also, Fire Nuts, I wasn't trying to call you out. I think you were right. I apologize. I did say he only had 3 games this week. On Monday, he had 4 games. That was my fault. I wasn't trying to call you out. I was just trying to, let the people know the truth. Peyton Watson is a great defender. If you need defensive stats, put him in your lineup right now.
All right. While Kirien fixes his computer issues, let's hope that I stay on with you here. And let's have a word from our friends at Chalkboard. Cash in on your NBA picks this season with Chalkboard. Simply choose more or less on your favorite player stats to win up to 5,000 times your money. For a limited time only, new players receive a free pick and a 100% deposit match. See why over 1 million fans have already locked in with Chalkboard to turn their sports knowledge into cold, hard cash. Whether you're locking in the perfect slip with alternate lines, using the cash out feature to take your money and run, or hammering the daily promos, today is your chance to win up to $40,000 on a single entry. Stop sitting on the sidelines and get into the game with Chalkboard Fantasy Sports. Now available in 30-plus states. Download Chalkboard today and use promo code ROTONBA, that's ROTONBA, to receive a free pick and a 100% deposit match. Well, I see we have Kirien back here on his fully charged or hopefully mostly charged computer. So, and that also, we're going to do some questions from the chat now because we have Kirien back, and there's a lot of questions in here. And it'll also give you a chance to notify Uncle Bob and Aunt Janet, who are probably on their way in for Thanksgiving next week, that it's almost time for the What Was That Stat Lines of the week. But before we do that, Kirien, let's go ahead and hammer through some of these questions.
All right, you can hear me, though? We're all good?
I can hear you great. We can hear you. We can see you. Kirien is here.
I cannot believe that actually worked. I'm not the most technically advanced person, if you couldn't tell already, but I do love basketball, and I can give you insights on how to win your fantasy league. So we got a super chat from Kevin Dame. I need to drop one, Jordan Poole or VJ Edgecombe. That's tough. Hopefully your team is doing pretty good. If that's the conundrum you have there, Kevin, I would say Jordan Poole. I think Edgecombe has the higher upside. He's the young player. He's the exciting player. I think he's really kind of like changed, or he was a big reason for this jump in production from Philly, the surprise start for Philly. I don't think they're going to go away from Edgecombe anytime soon, even with Paul George coming back. And Embiid maybe on the return here soon too. But yeah, Jordan Poole, solid player, streaky player, and then maybe DeJounte Murray comes back. Jeremiah Fears is playing really well. I think Poole is the answer here, right?
This is an emphatic get rid of Jordan Poole for me, Kevin. This isn't. I have to think about this. Do it. Get rid of him.
For sure. All right, appreciate the super chat, Kevin. Those are always really nice to see. Wemby, would you drop Ace Bailey to use as a streaming spot? 9-cat, love Ace, but the lack of stats is tough. Yeah, I think that's fair. Depending on who you like, what your other streaming options are. I think Ace might get picked up by a different team that has a spot open that can stash him for a couple of weeks and live with some of these mistakes. But he is starting right now, so I feel like moving on from him right now would maybe not be the smartest idea. But obviously, if there's players that are more productive on the waiver wire, go out and get them. Like Keldon Johnson. Like I would probably rather stick with Ace Bailey than go pick up Keldon Johnson. But I like Keldon Johnson. Is that fair, Mike?
Yeah, definitely. It's close. I would err on the side of the upside is so huge with Bailey, and I think towards the end of the season he's going to be really good. So your question is, how much do you need streaming help now, and are those guys significantly better than what Ace Bailey is going to give you? And do I think Harrison Barnes, Keldon Johnson, Vince Williams Jr., Bobby Porras, Kyle Kuzma, do I think any of those guys are significantly better than Ace Bailey? No. So I would hang on to Ace Bailey, and unless if you're 12 or deeper, 12 teams or deeper, I'd hang on to Ace Bailey. If you're playing a 10-teamer, then sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. DJ, hey guys, just wanted to know, once Jalen Williams is available, should I drop Keyshawn George or Zach Edey? Ooh, that's tough. I probably go Edey here, just because Keyshawn George has higher upside. But I do like Edey as a center option, and if you don't need the extra center, I don't know what type of league this is, then Edey's the guy. But if this is a 2-center league, or you only have one other center, it might be worth keeping on to Zach Edey.
That's fair? A great call. I think it comes down to position need on your team. If you don't need the center.
Yeah, 10-team head-to-head points, by the way. So yeah, if you don't need the center spot, definitely move on from Zach Edey.
Yeah.
P-Dub, what's up, P? Good morning, guys. Any updates on Bam? Can we expect him to return soon? We did talk about Bam at the top of the show, upgraded to questionable. He was practicing over the weekend, so I think it's pretty fair to expect that he could play tonight, probably like a 60-40 type of situation where he plays tonight, after getting that full practice in Sunday, getting some conditioning days, and then, see how he reacts to that, full workload. I think it's pretty fair to probably expect Bam to play tonight, or, at least at some point this week. Wemby also said, do you think it's fine to drop Klingon for Cornette, 9-cat using
No.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
After that Cornette performance, it's going to be tough to
Don't do it, Wemby. Don't do it.
Have you so Alex put me onto the stat, but like 40%, like 38% of Klingon shots this year have been threes. That I don't know what we're doing there, so that makes me a little nervous about Klingon. But I think Klingon has the higher upside here, especially for the rest of the season.
Yep.
A-Top, best player to pick up if I drop Trey Jones, Koulibaly, Ivy, Fears, Pods, or Goodwin. I think Fears is probably right now. What do you think here, Mike? Let me look up some.
I agree on Fears. Excuse me, being the choice there. Koulibaly, I want no part of. Pods, I want no part of. Goodwin, I want no part of. So to me, it comes down to Fears or Ivy, and I just can't. I'd rather have the healthy guy than the hurt guy.
Yep, that's kind of where I was going. I like Koulibaly's defensive production, but also, with this Washington roster with Chris Middleton and CJ McCollum and Cam Whitmore and Keyshawn George and Bilal Koulibaly and Bud Carrington and yada, yada, yada. It's just a lot of names and not many guys, if that makes any sense. I totally agree. Fears, it goes between Fears and Ivy, and, Fears is healthy right now. Goodwin is whatever. I would much rather have Colin Gillespie than Goodwin at this point.
Agreed.
Is there any news regarding Oubre injury? Yeah, so let me see exactly what they said. An LCL sprain in his left knee. They haven't said he's going to be out weeks yet. They continue to treat him as day-to-day, but that's an out for multiple weeks injury. If I'm no doctor, but I do follow these injuries fairly closely. If you have a sprain in your knee, you're probably going to be out at least a week. James Chan, I have Curry, Mitchell, Rollins, Powell, Randall, Turner, Hartenstein, Belil, Ace, Isaiah Jackson, Bogdan, Filipowski, and now Brandon Miller. Bias both will return. I need to drop one player. Isaiah Jackson, probably.
Yeah, I agree. It's a 14-team roto, so it's pretty deep. So to me, it comes down to Isaiah Jackson and Ace Bailey, and I'd much rather have the upside with Bailey, so I would drop Jackson.
Yeah. So Jackson did move into the starting lineup and had a pretty solid game. I'm still just worried about everything in Indiana. What are your thoughts on Bogdanovich?
Yeah, I just realized. Sorry, there was James. I missed that one. There's so many names in here. Bogdanovich, I think, would be the guy I actually drop.
Yeah,
I just don't trust him.
I like the idea of picking him up with the Beal injury, and Kawhi is out too. But he wasn't really part of the rotation at all to begin the season. I don't trust Bogdan. So
the idea of Bogdanovich is very different from the production of Bogdanovich. So I think that's where you got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's do two more.
All right, cool. Kool-Aid tripping. Who to keep rest of the season? Cam Johnson, Kamara, Bilal. Well, if you were paying attention to the drops section, we're cutting Cam Johnson here. I'm probably sticking with Kamara over Bilal Coulibaly, even though Kamara's had kind of struggled to start the season.
Agreed.
Christian Rogers said, "Is Isaiah Stewart a hold? 12-team category leagues." Yeah, that's tough. I like Isaiah Stewart. I think if you go on to like any per game stats and you sort by blocks and made threes, he's like up there with like Wemby, as one of the only guys that averages a block per game and multiple threes per game. But I don't think you need to hold him here. I think once Tobias Harris comes back, once Jalen Duren missed some games too, Asar Thompson missed some games. Once they get fully healthy, Stewart will be back to playing that backup front court position, and will limit his value pretty heavily, especially in a 12-team league. Is that fair?
Yeah, that is. And thank you, everyone. Kirien, are you doing another question show?
I am.
Doing any more of those? Okay, great. Yep. So everybody, we missed a lot of questions. Thank you for putting in all the questions in the chat. But don't worry, Kirien has you covered. Tomorrow, he's going to answer all the questions. So you can put them in the comments here, right, Kirien? Under the show, if you missed it live, how do we get you these questions?
You can tweet at me at Sprecher RW, just like the root beer. If you want to, you can just post them in the YouTube thread. There's the Sprecher at RW. You can post them in the YouTube thread before the show tomorrow, or you can just hop on and ask them like you guys normally do. We always get a bunch of questions, so it should have no problem filling 30-40 minutes answering your guys' questions tomorrow. So yeah, appreciate all of the questions in the chat. Always awesome to see all of the viewers tuning in and asking for advice.
The man of the people. And now it's time for the best segment in all of the podcasting universe. The What Was That? Stat Lines of the Week. Kirien, you are up first.
All right, so I saw that you went negative, so I had to go positive here. Jalen Johnson, 31 points, 18 rebounds, 14 assists, and 7 steals in Utah last Thursday. Those were all career highs for Jalen Johnson. We have spoken about how much we love Jalen Johnson. I said a couple of years ago that Jalen Johnson could be the top fantasy player on this team, even if Trae Young was healthy. Obviously, Trae's out right now, so Jalen kind of has this runway to just be an absolute fantasy superstar. The Hawks are also winning a lot of games right now. So don't sleep on Jalen Johnson as a winning player, along with being an absolute fantasy superstar.
I also have a game that involved the Utah Jazz. This happened on November 16th against our Bulls, a game that had double overtime, 297 combined points. Ace Bailey fouled out in 10 minutes. What was that? Ace Bailey, what are you doing? There was almost 300 points in the game. He scored 5 points right away, and then the fouls started. And as soon as he'd come back into the game, the Bulls knew he could not foul him, and they ran right at him, and he'd foul him every time. Now, I'm not bitter because I may or may not have taken the over on his points scored in that game. I'm bitter because there was so much fantasy goodness, and Ace Bailey could only manage to stay on the floor for 10 minutes. Now, he has been better. He scored 13 points against the Lakers on Tuesday. He scored at least 10 points in 5 of his last 6 games. But fouling out in 10 minutes, what was that, Ace Bailey? Keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, no, I love that one. You mentioned the fantasy goodness and a little bit betting. If you like fantasy goodness and you like betting the overs, you should be betting on every Utah Jazz game. These are the last 4 scores. 152 to 128, 132 to 122, 150 to 147, which is the Bulls game, the double OT game that you're talking about. And then last night, 140 to 126. I don't know if many, coaches from the 80s or 90s would enjoy watching these games. I certainly enjoy watching them as a fan of offensive production and looking for fantasy gold. But not a lot of defense has been played by the Utah Jazz recently. And, like you said, Ace Bailey couldn't keep his hands to himself.
Unbelievable. And with that is the end of today's RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Sling TV. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening. Remember, 15% off any subscription at rotowire.com. Use promo code YouTube15. Also, remember, Kirien has your back tomorrow on the podcast. All your questions will be answered. Come on in. Kirien's got the answer for you. And we look forward to talking to you again next week, the day before Thanksgiving. We may have something fun planned. Who knows? If you listened to the podcast last year, the day before Thanksgiving, you may remember. But until then, can we please finally keep somebody healthy on all of our fantasy basketball teams?
Bless. Have a good one, everybody.